Okie dokie dokie. I'm not even gonna bother with any of these live audience crap. We're just gonna record it and go for it. Sounds good?
Yep.
Normally, for those who are just tuning in here on the YouTube, normally I would just, I'd wait a few minutes here and we'd be like fucking about while we wait for like the stream to push to the Discord and me to post the social media post, but it's fucking 12:30, 3:30 a.m. for him, and it's just like fuck it, we're just gonna record it so he can go to bed or do whatever he needs, relax for the rest of the night and go to bed, whatever he's gonna do, and I'm gonna watch a movie, watch the rest of some Bob Lazar UFO junk that I've been obsessed with lately. Anyway, you ready? All right, here we go. Oh, goddamn! Let me get my water. It's okay. Yes, knock everything over in the way. All right.
One of them cats just.
Ah, sorry, dude. You want me to give you a minute here to air out the room, or are you good? All right, here we go. 3, 2, 1. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Psychotronic Coast to Coast. I'm your host, Skinslip. That's your other host, Owen Neal. He's actually the cooler host, just the way it goes. I'm the one who talks first for some reason. Yeah, you know, hey, whatever. Today we're watching regional underrated gem Enter the Devil. And this 1972 film directed by Frank Q. Dobbs, who's done like a couple other movies, not look nearly as interesting as this one. Was shot for a very small budget, though I can tell you it's got a larger budget than some of the other movies we watch. Ooh, excuse me. And interesting to know, this Blu-ray, newly released by Massacre Video, newly released I think last year, in a limited edition. I think there's a standard release now available on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. If it weren't for Massacre Video releasing this film would be slipping slowly into obscurity because it had like 4 or 5 really bad bootleg releases, and that was it. There's no official release for this movie outside of I think maybe a VHS, a really rare VHS back in the day. Pretty sure there was a VHS, but like this movie was obscure and gone, and nobody would have ever found it if it wasn't literally rescued by Massacre Video. So the minute I knew that, I knew I kind of wanted to cover it because I love obscure regional horror, especially regional horror. And we watched this movie, and I gotta say, I found this incredibly charming and way better than I expected. This is better. This movie is better than most of the crap we watch on the show. And I love the crap we watch on the show. It's I'm genuinely shocked that this is obscure and unknown as it is. This really really deserves a day in the sun. This is a gem that, for whatever reason, I don't know why, just nearly was lost. We almost lost this movie forever. Like, and that to me, that would have been criminal. After seeing this movie, losing this film forever in this state would have been criminal. I would have been inconsolably upset if I had to watch this on a bootleg. I would have been so upset this was lost. So I'm so fucking glad we have this Blu-ray. So now that I fucking sold the hell out of this movie, Owen, why don't you take us through it, eh?
Well, it opens up in a Texas, I guess, desert-ish landscape.
A small desert Texas town. It could be more than a couple hundred, maybe 1,000 people who live there. It's very rural. In southern Texas, near the border, specifically. With Mexico, yeah. Obviously.
You see a guy bombing through the hill in his car. And his tire gets sniped out. And he gets picked up by someone, which is funny now looking back at it. We see the guy later in the pickup that picks him up. I never really put those two together, but...
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, I
But
didn't put
he
those
gets
two together
picked up.
either. I just assumed they were both killed or whatever. I didn't think about that.
But yeah, he gets picked up and he gets sacrificed to the cult. They stab him with their cross spike thing they have.
It's pretty fucking cool. It looks like a big piece of obsidian carved in a single piece. It might even be a real piece of obsidian for all I know. I mean, it could be fake too, but now I'm thinking about it, looking back, it might actually just be a black painted object, but it looks very close to
Yeah,
obsidian. It's pretty fucking cool.
I thought it was like a burnt wooden cross or something.
They could have been a burnt wooden cross. It could have easily been that. And I mean, I'm watching it on Blu-ray. It's gorgeous. I mean, you're technically watching on Blu-ray also. I'm I literally I looked at I went on YouTube and looked at the public domain print, and it's washed out and faded and like cropped. It looks bad. It would have genuinely hurt this movie watching it in that form. It would have been just like. Anyway, so yes.
And now we're introduced to the sheriff, not the mayor that we kept calling him. He's a sheriff. I saw his badge.
He's just acting like the mayor from Jaws.
Yeah, I guess it's wherever they are elected sheriff because he's talking about election year or whatever.
Sheriffs are elected. That's how that works.
Okay. And he sends his marshal or deputy or whatever out to find this missing person. The guy we saw that just got killed.
Oh, we witness what I thought was a first sacrifice. Later we find out that's an initiate getting scarred. And then we see the actual sacrifice of the hitchhiker, don't we? In the opening credits?
Yes.
Okay. I'm pretty sure we saw that.
It's funny because you don't remember it, but you were talking about look at the blood on that cross, which is after they stabbed him with it.
Yeah, because I looked over and I thought that was part of the scarification thing, because I thought they were cutting back and forth between the two things. Because at the same time, I was looking at background. At the very beginning of the movie, I generally go and look at the background information for the podcast to talk about on the podcast, because movies. A lot of these movies take a long time to get started, and so I kind of jumped the gun on that. But it happens. So I'm gonna watch this movie a lot. I love this fucking movie. If you haven't guessed, so.
But a deputy or whoever, I forget his name, but we meet up with Glenn. I remember his name.
Oh my god! Wait, hold on.
Camp.
Hold on. Back up. This might be the first time you've remembered a name on this entire podcast.
No, that's not true.
Are you sure?
I've remembered a couple here and there.
A couple here and there. Man, it's so rare though.
They just kept saying his name, so it's like Glenn. But Glenn runs a hunting reserve, and he's got a bunch of hunters there, and they end up finding the burnt car with the first victim.
By the way, for those who are hearing the audio version of this, Owen's cats are losing their shit behind him. They're like tussling. It's really cute. It's really adorable, but yeah, not conducive to podcast recording. So I apologize to those who are listening on the audio. There's nothing he can do about that if you hear it. He tried. I know he did, because he's very particular about that. So.
Yeah, I gave them a snack, and I hoped they would go to bed, but it didn't work.
Well, what are you gonna do, kids? Mine's sleeping just fine. Look, yeah, I can show you mine. Mine's over here. So the podcast can see it. The live stream can see it, and then I can show you on. There's the cat just chilling. Anyway, sorry.
But the sheriff wants an autopsy, and the guy does it, and he says he didn't die in the fire. He didn't die in the crash.
He said there
very strange puncture wounds.
Specifically, he was like, there were no blisters on the inside of his lungs, which implies he was not alive when he was engulfed in flames, because he would have breathed in fire or hot air, and it would have blistered your lungs. That's part of the reason why you die from burning to death. Anyway, and the strength puncture wounds on his wrists and his feet.
But the sheriff's like, no, he died in the crash. That's what I'm saying. like good sheriff,
And that's when I started comparing him to the mayor from Jaws. That's when we started calling him the mayor, even though he wasn't. You know.
also the deputy or whoever is bangs some girl. Yeah, basically Glenn has a bunch of Mexicans working for him.
There are immigrant labor. Specifically, he even mentions that they are fresh from across from downriver. He says.
Yep.
And and he's like, I'm not immigration. I ain't here to bust your chops. He says something to that effect.
Yeah, he goes to his room and there's just a naked girl in there. You don't see anything, but you can see from the back.
It's implied she's pretty young too.
Yeah.
It's never stated, but it's implied that she's very young for her age. Yeah. For being there.
Bunch of hunters being inappropriate with one of the house ladies. And she's kind of flirting back, and he goes to hook up with her, and she burns him with a cigarette, and he decides he's gonna do it anyways, but he gets stopped by one of the other Mexican workers. Yep. I believe it's the chef.
I think you're right, yeah.
But, that doesn't really deter him. He's like, whatever, I'm going to go hunting anyways. And he ends up being taken out by the cult and thrown in a rattlesnake pit.
Oh, yeah, that's right. And then no one hears back from him that night, and they say, I guess I'll have to go for my own hunting party in the morning. We don't hear from so-and-so. And they go for it. They do it in the morning, and they find his corpse in the desert. And they go to move him, and oh shit, rattlesnake! And one of my least favorite things in movies, what happens? That's right.
They blast a real rattlesnake.
That's right. But we all made a comment when the guy picked up the rifle. That shell's been spent, and he goes to click. Ooh, and quickly reloads and fires. He panics. But yeah, we see the rattlesnake explode. And I'm not particularly fond of rattlesnakes. I almost got bit by one, so I'm like, But I mean, I didn't need to see it explode on film either. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We jumped a little ahead. Before they go out hunting and that happens, the doctor brings another doctor who's studying on cults and phenomenons. He brings her up there because obviously he knows that those puncture wounds aren't right.
Mm-hmm.
So she's introduced.
And when she's introduced, it's you kind of think that this is going to be her story, but it's never any one particular character's story. It feels very fly on the wall-ish. I mean, it's never really feels like it's one person's movie. It feels like an ensemble at this point. And I gotta say, for most of these movies we watch, the acting is really where it hurts. A lot of these movies. This movie does not have that problem. These are all very decent, very quality actors. I would say they're at least TV movie, slightly better quality. I mean, way better than the average schlock you have in this era. Really. I mean, these guys are better actors than Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and that's classic. That's why it baffles me. And those movies just completely unknown. It's a bit of a slow burn, but I mean, so what? Anyway.
Yeah. But after two, air quote, accidental deaths, all the other hunters are like, we're out.
Rightfully
we'll see you next year.
Wouldn't you be?
I don't know. If I thought they were an accident, but maybe there's something in the air. They're like, something's not right here.
I mean, I bet they're getting a real weird feeling from the locals, like, I don't know.
And the sheriff being like, you guys saw nothing.
Yeah, right? I'm like,
and voted.
I think I'm going to go home now, or I'm not going to get killed by a creepy cult. Small towns, don't fuck around with people in small towns. It's like when the law could be not on your side, you gotta be careful. And even when you haven't done anything illegal, you just gotta be careful in small towns, because people go missing, man, and then no one's gonna fucking report your ass. No one's gonna say, oh yeah, I saw him over at the Safeway. Nope, no one fucking saw your ass. You're done. You're gone. It's like, you gotta be careful in small towns, man. Small town justice is a thing.
But yeah, after all the hunters leave, it's like, that's his business. And he's like, well, I'll just reopen my mind. So he shows the doctor and the deputy his mind. And they notice one of the guys has some weird scars. And the doctor wants to know about it. But they all clamor up. And the guy's like, oh, it's nothing. Which made me suspicious of the hunter that runs the hunting lodge, Glenn. And then a cart almost hits the old deputy.
Oh, he does the stupidest thing though. He literally walks out to the very edge of the rail because the rail just like breaks off, like there was a former bridge that's collapsed or whatever. And like he walks out to the very edge of the rails and just stands on them. And like he has nowhere to go. Something happens, right? Left or right, he falls down. And guess what fucking happens? I literally saw him walk out. I'm like, oh, something's gonna happen from behind. I thought either someone's gonna push him or the cart was gonna roll at him. And the cart rolled right at him. I'm like, you stupid idiot. Yep. And he has to jump for his life. And, takes that mountain down. Sorry.
Glenn starts hooking up with the doctor, which upsets one of the cult members. We don't know they're the cult members yet, but spoiler.
Spoiler alert.
One of his house women is upset when he goes and hooks up with the doctor. The deputy wants to hook up with that girl again, and she knocks, but then one of the guys says, you stop that. So later she says, oh, meet me in the cave, since, he's leaving. And he gets a surprise when he goes to the cave because they burn her alive.
Oh, yeah.
The cult burns her alive. And they start attacking him. He takes out 3 of them. They cut his walkie-talkie so he can't, or his CB radio so he can't call anyone. He drives off and, surprise, brakes cut. He's going down the old steep hill and oh no, he goes off the cliff and the car explodes before it even goes off the cliff. Just...
And then it rolls off the cliff. We see the whole thing and I'm thinking to myself, I bet you they have one car, one take, and they fucked it up. And it went off before it even went to the fucking cliff. And it wasn't supposed to go off till it ran off, I bet. It's supposed to be an 80s car explosion, or a 70s car explosion, where it just goes off the cliff, and it rolls down the hill and comes to a stop and explodes, but it went off too soon. That's my guess. They had to use it anyway. So there you go. So I guess they bombed the car instead. Even though they cut the brakes.
So now that he, again, accidentally died.
The third one.
Even though brakes were cut, but whatever.
Yeah, someone even says, oh, his brakes were cut.
The sheriff said it.
Yeah, that's right. I couldn't remember
if it was him or
one of the other guy.
The doctor goes and gets the other doctor and says, no, you need to leave. Puts her on a train, but what'd she do?
Gets off the other side.
She sneaks off the train.
Yep.
And goes back with Glenn.
Good old Glenn.
Yep. And he's like, oh, I'll show you into the hills. And he brings her into the cave, and she sees all the people doing their cult stuff, and she gets grabbed. He's nowhere to be seen. And before they kill her, they want her to know who they are. And everyone takes off their hoods, and my first guess was true. It was all the Mexican workers.
I was saying, wouldn't it be horribly racist if the bad guys of this movie were all just the Mexican workers? Yep, that's what happened. Welcome to exploitation. Sometimes these things happen. I don't think it was intended to be racist. I think it just unintentionally it was like it's an unintentional thing, right? Like you afterwards you go, oh wait a minute, oh shit, oops. Yeah, that's what it feels like. No, it doesn't, like, other than a one or two remarks from like one or two like lesser cool characters. Like there's not like a ton of like racism here. It's not like the main characters are like disdainful or negative speaking to the Mexican workers. They just happen to also work there. Like no one ever talks down to them, so it's clearly not meant to be racist. It's just like it's an unintentionally racist thing. It's also probably incredibly insensitive to a religion that probably exists, because it's a nonsensical fake religion. I like how it's implied that there'd be devils. It's too late for an exorcism. There's no possession. Okay, there's no devil entering anybody, but it implies there will be. I'll point that out. Anyway, yeah,
Yeah, it's not really like
it's a slow burn, by the way.
devil worship
It is.
because they're holding like a normal cross
They said it was a
and they're
mix of
doing like
Christianity and Indian. They said quote unquote Indian religions, and they're talking about like Olmec, Aztec, Maya, and
yeah,
it's
because
horribly
they're all holding
insensitive to all of
crosses.
those religions, 100% for sure. Definitely misrepresenting all of those religions. I guarantee it.
And, before we jumped a little ahead. There was the sheriff and the doctor are at the gas station. The guy we saw earlier, he's not really too important, but he mentions that he saw the doctor and Glenn driving back to his house, and they're like, "What? She was supposed to leave." And then he's like, "They're probably looking at all those strange lights on the hills at night," and that's how they kind of realize
Oh Lord.
where they went.
Strange lights, and he goes, "Yeah, strange lights enchanting. I don't want to go there. I only went there once. I don't want to."
And he even says, "I don't know what they're chanting. I don't speak Mexican."
Yep.
So
Even though it's not, it's Latin. It said the subtitles told me
yeah,
so. Which is weird. It's like,
which is kind of funny.
yeah, what?
Well, like when they're gonna kill the girl and they all have their hoods on, the doctor, the guy's speaking English, so like she
He's
understands everything he's saying.
right. I was gonna say that, and you jumped to it, so I'll let you have
And
it.
the last hood drops, and it's Glenn, which I called as
Oh
well.
yeah, I was like, he was like driving her to the hills. I'm like, oh yeah, I think you're right. I think he's in on it. Like that's when I
And
realized.
they're about to stab her, and he gets shot, and it's the sheriff with a bunch of people with machine guns, I guess other deputies and stuff. And one of the guys in their hood throws a torch at him, and they just mow everyone down. Just machine guns blasting in this cave. We're
Like
probably
the,
all dead.
and by the way, this innocent victim's in the middle of all of this while they're just
Yeah,
shooting
right up.
indiscriminately in a cave. No one cares about ricochets. No one cares about the fact they're gonna be deaf for weeks on end after this, if not for life.
And then the part I laughed at the most, Glenn grabs her and he's just like, "Don't shoot, sheriff." As a, kind, not even like as a shield, but it seemed like he was trying to act like he was just there, even though he's clearly wearing the robe. And they just smack him in the head and then shoot him.
Yeah, they didn't give a
They're
fuck.
like donk, and then they
Like,
just blast him.
too fucking bad. Whap.
They're like, what do you think, we're stupid? You're wearing one of the robes.
Oh man, I really love this movie. This is so good.
But I was kind of hoping the sheriff would be like, take pictures with me, with all these cult members I've killed, so I can run it in my campaign.
I'd vote for that guy.
Vote for me, I cults.
I killed cults.
I mean, he must have for sure won that election, right?
I'd vote for him. Like, yeah, dude, we have like crazy, weird people getting murdered by other people. Like, you solved that shit. Vote. I mean,
Now, does he
Well, sorry. Go ahead.
still cover up the murders? He's like, those were 3 accidents. They weren't related to the cult.
I don't know. Anyway, what did you think of the movie? Everyone knows what I thought. I can't shut up about it.
I'd say it was a solid 3.
I agree. It's a solid 3. I'm gonna give it a 4 because I loved it so much. But yeah, objectively speaking, it's a solid 3-star movie. It's a very slow movie. There are a few really cool character moments between the characters that kind of keep you along. But honestly, if the characters aren't captivating you, you're probably gonna find this movie boring. That's really what it
Yeah,
boils down
I
to.
didn't find it boring.
You didn't find
It's
it boring?
definitely a slow burn, but I find it boring.
I found all the characters were interesting. No one was a bothersome or annoying, you know. And there's plenty of interesting. I was trying to like intrigue. There's plenty of interesting intrigue. Sorry, I got ahead of myself there. And I felt like I was trying to figure out kind of what was going on, though it was kind of easy by about 30 minutes from the end. It's kind of like, okay, I see what's happening. Which now you're just waiting for the characters to figure it out, you know.
Yes.
And they do. Not too long after that, at least. So. Oh.
She figured it out
So
until
yes.
he revealed himself. She's like, "Oh God."
I 100% recommend this film. I cannot believe this is just completely unknown film. And I looked on YouTube. There's like only 10 reviews, so we're gonna actually get some pretty good traction on this, I think. Hi YouTube. So Owen, what are we watching for our next episode?
Some guy who kills people.
Never heard of it.
Won a bunch of best features at different festivals.
Oh, cool. I mean, the title called "Some Guy Who Kills People." I assume it's a spoof or a comedy of some sort.
Not a spoof, but a comedy.
Like not like okay. When I say spoof, I don't mean like date movie spoof. I mean like a good spoof, like hot shots, where there's an actual story, and but there's also jokes. That kind of spoof. I don't know.
No, it's not goofy like Hot Shots.
No, well, hey, is it a spoof like
Remember.
Shaun of the Dead, where it's aping certain things, but like more serious tone?
I'd say yes.
Okay, that's cool.
For that.
Right on. All right, I'm interested in seeing this. That's what we'll watch next week. Some guy who kills people. So yeah. Any last words, Owen?
Go watch Enter the Devil.
Yeah, go get
Plebs.
the Blu-ray. Go plebs. Get on our level. All right, we'll see you guys next week or next recording. Hopefully it's next week. Take it easy, everyone. Bye.